I moved into the new apartment at the start of the week. A small place high up, just bright enough and quiet enough to sleep. But after only a few nights, the peace disappeared. Every time the clock slipped past midnight, sometimes closer to dawn, strange sounds rose from the unit next door. Some nights it was a stifled sob, other times broken shouts. And once, a scream that seemed to slice through the thin wall, jolting my heart and holding it still for a few beats. I sat up, listened, tried to make sense of it.
Before listening to today's story, please subscribe to the channel to help spread it to more people in similar situations. And don't hesitate to leave a comment below to share your sincere advice for our guest.
The noise came in waves loud, then nothing, as if nothing had happened. The unpredictability made me even more alert. After several sleepless nights, I was so afraid I considered forfeiting my deposit, moving out, and buying back my sleep. I slept with the lights on, pulled the curtains tight, kept my phone within reach. The fear quietly drew itself under my eyes, dragging along sluggish mornings and the feeling of being watched by something I couldn't see. I've lived alone for years, since graduating from college. I know how to calm myself, how to name a worry, how to befriend silence. But this was the first time I felt small in front of a wall and the life on the other side of it. Curiosity slowly beat out fear. That afternoon, I bought some fruit, stood in front of my neighbor's door, and rang the bell. A woman in her early 60s opened it. Her face was lined, her eyes set deep, but her smile turned warm when she learned I was new next door. She spoke slowly, her voice rough with fatigue. Later that day, she even brought me homemade steamed buns as a welcome. Her kindness lowered my guard. After a few brief visits, I chose a quiet evening to ask about the midnight noise. I kept my voice low, afraid to offend her. She fell still, eyes reddening. Tears slid down her sun-darkened cheeks. She told me to sit, and then she began. Her family had 4 children, 3 sons, and a youngest daughter, her. You'd think 4 siblings would be 4 shoulders for an elderly mother to lean on, but time pushed them in separate directions. Land disputes dragged on and frayed what was left of their bond. In the end, their mother, nearly 90, was left in a shabby kitchen, sometimes hungry, living on the kindness of neighbors. Whenever she went home, she saw her mother leaning against a wall, eyes clouded, hands trembling. She couldn't stand it. She asked to bring her up to the city, but her mother was already far along, confused, unsteady, unable to take care of herself. At night, she sometimes panicked, crying, shouting, wandering around the house. The sounds I heard, the sobs, the sudden screams, were the moments the old woman forgot where she was. Her husband couldn't accept it. He liked order, hated disruption. The midnight noise robbed him of sleep and made him harsh. He gave his wife a choice, a nursing home, or sending the mother back to the countryside for the brothers to care for. She once tried the nursing home, but right at the doorway, the old woman clutched her daughter's hand and sobbed like a child, terrified of being abandoned. So they went home, and the daughter looked for another way. This apartment sits on the 30th floor. I kept my voice low, afraid to offend her. The distance is close enough for her to come up every day to cook, bathe her mother, coax her to sleep, and far enough that the husband can sleep without being woken by cries in the night. He refused to pay for the rental. She picked up extra work, house cleaning, school pickups to scrape together rent and buy diapers and supplies. On the busiest days, she could only manage to cook a pot of porridge, bring it up, tell her mother to eat slowly, and rush off to meet the parents waiting downstairs. Here her voice grew small. The in-laws were busy and had asked her to come help for a month or 2. She wanted to bring her daughter and the baby to her own home for convenience, but the in-laws didn't like the idea. Her husband said a child's confinement is a big deal. Don't strain that relationship, or the girl will suffer later. He used the opportunity to push the matter of her mother again. In his view, it was time to send her back to the brothers. The land had already been divided. So should responsibility. By law, the daughter and son-in-law had no share. How much more could they be expected to do? She understood the logic, but her heart wouldn't let her. She couldn't bear to leave a confused, fearful old woman to the dark, to the door of an institution, to the chance of being left behind. She couldn't bear to abandon her own daughter, either weak and paper-thin after childbirth. Pulled from both ends, she was wearing away. The screams I'd heard were not only the mother's, they were also the daughter's sighs, torn into pieces by wind, mingled with the hiss of faucets, the thud of elevator doors, the gusts whipping down a high-rise corridor. I kept quiet for a long time. I thought about the nights I slept with the lights on, angry at being disturbed. I thought about numbers and rules, and about a woman learning how to stand between duty to her mother and duty as a wife. I was young. I didn't have the experience to advise her. I could only tell her she had tried so hard, and that maybe no one could make a choice that was perfect in a situation like this. That night, I sat by my window and looked over the city. Headlights slipped through intersections, every car carrying its own story, every lit window a life struggling in its own way to go on. After midnight, the noise came again. I walked over and placed my palm against the thin wall. On the other side was a mother lost in her memory. On the other side was a daughter holding two ends of a rope. My fear eased. In its place was a small desire to do something that might help. The next day, I knocked on her door. I offered to stop by each evening to help clean up and sit with her mother so she could rest. She looked at me, her eyes red but bright. She thanked me, though she was still anxious. She said this could only be temporary. Her husband was still pushing. Her daughter's due date was close. People kept asking one blunt question: what's so wrong with sending the mother back when the brothers had the land and the means? I understood. A neighbor's kindness can't replace a family's decision. It can only buy time to breathe, to think. And sometimes a small breath is enough to avoid a hasty choice, enough time to place another call home, to try again with the brothers, to find a reputable part-time caregiver, to negotiate a middle ground plan with the husband for a month or two. A week passed after that first conversation. On the nights I helped bathe the old woman, she seemed as gentle as a tired child. She held my hand walking to the bathroom, humming an old lullaby. I learned to soothe her with slow breathing, with soft music, with motions repeated in the same order. The screams still came now and then, but shorter, duller. We changed to brighter bulbs, moved the bed, put non-slip mats in the bathroom, added a small bell so we'd know when she got up and could guide her back safely. Amid these small fixes, the big things remained. The brothers in the countryside took calls on and off. When they did pick up, someone was busy with the harvest. Another passed the responsibility along. The grind of who should do what turned like a millstone, grinding down a woman who was at once daughter, wife, and mother. I don't have a solution nor a magic wand. All I can do is write this, hoping to find a path forward from those who have walked a similar road, those who have cared for a parent with dementia, who have stood between two families, who have tried care homes, who love their mother but are afraid of upsetting their husband, who worry about a daughter fragile after birth. If you were her, what would you do? Would you place her mother in a nursing facility with medical oversight and set a daily visiting schedule? Bring her back to the countryside and negotiate a written rotation with the brothers' clear shifts and a shared transparent fund? Or keep the rental for now, hire a reliable caregiver by the hour so she can care for both mother and daughter during those first weeks? And if you were the husband, would you agree to share the cost for a short time so your wife doesn't see break under the weight or hold firm to your boundary? I hope for concrete advice, practical experience, trustworthy care providers, and ways to negotiate within a family without doing harm. Maybe one comment here will give her another option. Maybe one suggestion will make some night quieter. This building rises more than 30 floors. The corridor is long and the wind roars through it. But sometimes a hallway warms when a single door opens and a hand is held out. If you've ever stood at the crossroads between duty and peace, please leave a few words. We're listening.
Thank you for trusting us with your story and for the courage to open up. Thank you all for listening. And if you've been through something similar or have insights to share, please leave a comment.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time on your radio.